Today we'll be trying to answer the question on everyone's mind. Is the top in? We'll be going over what just happened with Trump's tariffs and their developments with China, and we'll also be going over the Bitcoin chart and taking a look at the most important levels that you need to pay attention to as it pertains to trading. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Firstly, would you really be surprised if the top was in? The signs were there. As we can see here, right around this range of $3.25 trillion to $3.5 trillion, which is the total crypto market cap, we got a bunch of news that came out that would suggest, according to previous cycles, that the top could potentially be in. First of all, President Trump comes out and says, "I'm a big crypto fan." Then BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says the strength of the entire financial system is safe and sound. $1.3 trillion asset manager Morgan Stanley CIO says, buy the dip. Then we also have the fact that the Coinbase hackers had access to customer data since January. Jim Cramer even suggested buying Bitcoin as a hedge against excessive government spending. And I don't have to go over all of these, but you get the point. Would you really be surprised if the top was in? Then we also have this chart. We've been going over this chart at length on the channel, and it is very, very crucial to understand that this is starting to look eerily similar to 2021. If we take a bar pattern here and we grab it from here to here, taking a look at the 2021 top, and we overlay it, as I showed in one of my previous videos, we can see that this is starting to look very, very similar. You form that first high, you get rejected, and then you get an aggressive move to the downside, only to go ahead and form a little bit of a higher high. You might think that I'm being extremely negative and pessimistic, but I'm actually here to tell you that the top is not in yet. It's just going to play out likely a little bit different than all of your favorite influencers have been telling you. Because I still think that this could be the local top like we saw back in 2021, but it will not bring us down into a bear market like some people are starting to think. As I've been discussing on the channel, I have been leaning a little bit more bearish since we made that top around $112,000, expecting a correction. And this, a Bitcoin at $105,000, is exactly what we're seeing. A correction, chopping around, and at this point, as we head into the summer, I think it's highly likely that we just continue to chop around and set a new range as we saw back in 2024. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, let's take a look at this chart. This is exactly what happened in 2024. We chopped around in a little bit of a more bearish manner, but it was still consolidating, and then we finally got a big breakout move to the upside, making an aggressive all-time high for Bitcoin. This is highly probable to happen for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Let's take a look at it like this. This was the range in 2024, and this could be the range in 2025 summer before we get that breakout towards the end of the year to make our final all-time high and then go into a bear market. This is currently my base case. I know a lot of people have been talking about a very bullish summer, but I'm not that convinced. I think that at this point, this market is ready to chop people out, and I know that's not what you might want to hear, but this is just the facts. If we continue to chop around these levels, I would become more and more convinced that we are just forming a range for the summer. Now, why did Bitcoin get that correction? First of all, we pumped above the previous all-time high. We set a new all-time high, but we weren't able to get those daily closes above 109.5K, which was the most crucial level to pay attention to. The reason being, this was the previous all-time high wick. And if we can consolidate above that level, that is when I told you I would be max long and open an aggressive long targeting much, much higher prices. Yes, we got that one close above $109,000, but we ultimately got rejected the next day, breaking below. And as you can see, if I zoom into this chart, we can tell by these wicks that this started to act as significant resistance, which is not what you want to see if you were max bullish. Now, I think it's highly likely that we go ahead and chop in the summer, as I said, but there are some conflicting signs. One of those signs being the overall liquidity. So currently, a lot of people have started shorting this market, more than we've seen over the past few weeks. There's a lot of liquidity to the upside, but if we take a look at the bigger picture, check out this Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. You'll remember on the channel that last time I covered this chart, there was 4 times more longs in the market then shorts. Now, this is starting to look like it's evening out, which means that more and more people are starting to short the market. We can see here that if Bitcoin were to go up to $120,000, that would be the equivalent of around $12 billion of cumulative short liquidation leverage. However, if Bitcoin were to dump down to $93,000, that would be just over $16.6 billion of cumulative long liquidation leverage. This is starting to look far more balanced. If we are to surpass the cumulative long liquidation leverage, at that point, I do think a pump would be imminent. Now, as I discussed in my previous videos, this shouldn't be used to predict short-term price action. It should be used to tell you what could actually happen in the coming weeks and months, because normally this takes a while to shift around. So make sure that you're not just simply looking at this for your own short-term trades. If we look back at the Bitcoin chart, as I said, we got that confirmation below 109.5K. However, the next support level has actually been breached. And this level that we've been discussing is right around 106 to 106.5K. Around this zone is the key level that we wanted to hold as support if Bitcoin were to have a solid chance to go ahead and move higher. Now it is currently acting as resistance. So long as this continues to act as resistance, I do think that we will be targeting this liquidity cluster over here between $102,000 and $104,000. This ultimately becomes the next support level. If you want to trade this market, you have the first link in my description down below, which brings you directly to Bluffin. You can earn a $5,000 deposit bonus with the first link in my description down below, depending on how much you deposit into this exchange and start trading. This goes directly to your futures account, and all you really need is an email and a password to sign up. We also have Weeks, which is the second link in my description down below. Tons of rewards. You can get up to $400 practically for free based on what you deposit, and you can also earn up to $30,000 in rewards. The first 100 users that go ahead and sign up with the second link in my description down below also get a free $100 allocated to their account. And of course, if you want to join my free community where we post signals, you have the third link in my description down below. Our community members are making a lot of profits in this market. Now, before you go ahead and join this group, please understand that you'll have to sign up with one of my affiliate exchange links and make a deposit into that exchange to start your trading journey in the Signals group. If you're interested, make sure to message me the word Signals on Telegram and I will onboard you. Now back to the charts. If we take a look at Bitcoin again, this is ultimately what I think will play out over the course of the summer. I don't think a lot of people are ready for this. It would be absolutely brutal for altcoins because everyone is hoping that we finally get an altcoin season. But as I said, I have not been convinced for quite a while now. The reason being as well, Bitcoin dominance continues to increase. You guys are going to hate how much I talk about this, but ultimately I will not stop talking about this until we get some kind of reversal. And this is not what we're getting. We are continuing to see massive pumpage to the upside since we came back down, held this bull market support band as support, then we came back down, and I remember once again scrolling on Twitter, right around these areas where Bitcoin dominance dumped a little bit, people started saying, this is it, we're getting the altcoin season. And as you can see, we ended up just getting another pump. We're gonna break these highs. We will likely break these highs once again around 65.38%. And then, in my opinion, as I've been saying on the channel, I think that Bitcoin dominance could go all the way up to 66%. The reason why this is so important, this is an environment where altcoins continue to struggle against Bitcoin. Until monetary policy changes, nothing will change in this metric, in my opinion. That being said, though, we are seeing some solid performance from Ethereum against Bitcoin, but I don't want to get my hopes up because right now we continue to wick at the bull market support band. And if you've been watching my channel, the only thing that I'm really looking at here is if ETH against Bitcoin can hold this level as support and then pump to the upside. If this becomes the case, regardless of monetary policy, we should see altcoins start to perform reasonably well because of Ethereum's outperformance. But until we can hold this level as support, I will not be going into altcoins whatsoever, and I will make sure to keep you updated if I do. So aside from a bit of price exhaustion, one of the reasons why Bitcoin also dumped is because there is still some stuff ongoing with the tariffs. We thought that we were in the clear with the tariffs. It's clearly not the case. Trump just came out right before I recorded this video and said that China is essentially violating its agreement with the US. 2 weeks ago, China was in grave economic danger. The very high tariffs I set made it virtually impossible for China to trade into the United States. We went in effect cold turkey with China, and it was devastating for them. Many factories closed, and there was, to put it mildly, civil unrest. I saw what was happening and didn't like it for them, not for us. I made a fast deal with China in order to save them from what I thought was going to be a very bad situation, and I didn't want to see that happen. The bad news is that China, perhaps not surprisingly to some, has totally violated its agreement with the US. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy. So as soon as he posted this, Bitcoin saw a pretty severe correction. Now, I do think that this correction was already due before this whole tariff situation, and we also have some more developments, which I thought was interesting. North Korea has shipped more than 20,000 containers of munitions and related material to Russia to support the Ukraine war. Now, if this continues to escalate into summer, you cannot be expecting Bitcoin to make an aggressive all-time high, and of course, this impacts the rest of the crypto market. Just thought that you should be aware of this as well. Now, something else that we need to consider here is looking at the total crypto market cap. Right now, we are sitting at support right around $3.3 trillion. But if we lose this level, it is highly likely that we make our way back down to the fair value gap, which is the imbalance created from the May 8th rally. Now, in my opinion, this is looking pretty likely to play out, so make sure you're paying attention to this as well. And as I wrap up this video, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart. Again, I do think that this is the most likely scenario, chopping around for the summer. And that sums up today's video. So, is the top in? Perhaps locally, but I don't think that the top is in for this cycle. I think that we will likely get a new aggressive all-time high somewhere near Q3, Q4 of this year. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.